The way sports teams are allocated has never made any sense. Green Bay has an NFL team, but Milwaukee doesn't. Raleigh, North Carolina has an NHL team, but Charlotte doesn't. Oklahoma City has an NBA team, but Seattle, don't get me started. You get the idea. So today I'm going to right all the wrongs of the American sports world by relocating 10 teams from across the various major sports, but along the way, we are going to get into questions of what the allocation of sports franchises says about the hierarchy of US cities and the varying growth trajectories of different regions. It's all coming up next. This is CityNerd, weekly content on cities and transportation, and I always say viewer-suggested topics are welcome, but I don't seem to do it all that much. Well, this week is an exception. Yimby from The Only Real London says, "Hey CityNerd, could this be a video idea? 10 least serviced pro sports markets for a potential Coyotes relocation?" A couple of things to note about this. One, this is a tweet from like a year ago. Two, for those of you who are not fluent in ice hockey, the Coyotes are, or were, a National Hockey League franchise based out of the Phoenix area. Three, I'm not going to get into the whole saga, but ownership wasn't happy with the arena situation, and it's already been established that they're relocating to Utah next season. So four, even if I wanted to do this exact topic suggestion, which I don't because I'm not nearly as into ice hockey as I would have to be, it's well past its sell-by date. So instead I'm doing the 10 least served pro sports markets, including all major pro sports. And yeah, this is a sports topic, but what I like about this is that it's a way into talking about and thinking about the hierarchy of US cities. And I mean power dynamics, like the varying degrees to which cities have the power to attract prestige organizations and amenities. Okay, so let's talk about what I did, how I did it, and why. First of all, this is only going to be US cities because, as you'll see, I had to assign weights to the different sports to come up with a composite score for how well served each city is by all sports as a whole. And let's just say our neighbors to the north and south don't assign the same relative importance to American football that we do. I mean, anywhere else on Earth, if they think about American football at all, they think of it as an obscure and possibly barbaric pastime. And in the US, we just don't assign the same relative importance that Canada does for ice hockey or Mexico for association football. Okay, let's talk methodology. What I did is very simple in that I only really used 2 data points. A number representing how big a city is, or you could say how much gravity it has, and a number representing how well supplied that city is with top-level sports franchises. For city sizes, I used metro areas for all the usual reasons. Otherwise, we're living in a world where Jacksonville, Florida is considered to be twice the size of Miami, and I'm just not going to humor that. The other thing was, I wanted to think about this the way a billionaire franchise owner might. I don't just want to locate in a city that's got a large pool of potential customers. I want to be in a city that's got some upside too. So for population, I straight line extrapolated the last 10 years of growth or decline for every metro area to come up with the 2034 population forecast. To be clear, this incredibly blunt approach is an absolute insult to the complex things that actual population forecasters do with age cohorts, migration, etc., but I wanted to keep this simple and understandable. For evaluating how well supplied each metro area is with teams, I looked at things like revenue and franchise valuations and came up with a weighting system for all the major top flight team sports. And I include the WNBA and NWSL partly because I am a card-carrying member of the woke mob, but also because those leagues really have risen in stature in recent years, and for good reason. Then to do the regression analysis, I actually applied an exponent of 0.9 to the metro area population because the relationship between population and supply of sports franchises isn't linear. There's a diminishing return at play, otherwise New York would have like 6 NFL teams instead of 2, and an exponent of 0.9 gave me the best fit. As always, I try to give you enough information so that you could replicate the analysis yourself if you wanted to. I mean, this channel has nerd right in the name. I have standards to meet. And with that, let's get into it. Number 10 on my list of oversupplied cities is Cincinnati. You guys, all 10 of these are gonna hurt, and it's not personal, it's just how the numbers came out. And what I'm gonna do here is relegate FC Cincinnati out of MLS and into the second division. And then we're gonna go to Richmond, Virginia, a city that's really just too big to not have any sort of major league representation, and we're gonna double promote the Richmond Kickers out of USL League One, leapfrogging them over the USL Championship and straight into Major League Soccer. Although City Stadium, capacity 6,000 and inside this Bermuda Triangle of freeways, probably not going to cut it. Number 9, I have some very bad news for Buffalo, New York, but I don't have the heart to take away the Bills, even though someone should probably put that franchise out of its misery. Instead, we're going to move the NHL Sabres cross-country, and they're going to land in San Diego, much like the NBA's Buffalo Braves did when they morphed into the San Diego Clippers in 1978. You know, there was a time not too long ago when you'd say that San Diego was maybe oversupplied with professional sports teams, but their franchises keep moving to LA. Maybe ice hockey is the secret sauce. Number 8, our oversupplied city is Pittsburgh. This is just tough love. The Pirates haven't won a division title since 1992, when Barry Bonds looked like an actual human. And the city I'm moving them to is Dallas. You know, Dallas doesn't really have a team. I mean, the Texas Rangers could technically play in any city in Texas, and they choose to play in a non-city halfway between Dallas and Fort Worth. Just build an urbanist ballpark in downtown Dallas, kind of like the arena you did for the Mavs. Have some gumption and call the team the Dallas whatevers and call it good. Number 7, you had to see this one coming a mile away. I'm just surprised it isn't further up the list. Green Bay, very cool that the franchise has a community ownership structure, but there's no earthly reason the 159th largest metro area in the US should be hosting any professional sport, let alone an NFL team. Let's send them to a state where football is king, and we're going to San Antonio. Undersupplied overall in terms of sports franchises, just the Spurs, so maybe not undersupplied on NBA championships. And we can park the San Antonio Packers at the Alamo Dome until they build a less hideous stadium. Number 6, Kansas City, which already has a storied history of having their teams stripped away. It was home of the Athletics in between Philadelphia and Oakland. RIP the Oakland days. Also home of the Kings before they up and left for Sacramento. Just too many teams for a city this size though. And some of the most unsightly stadium locations. We're going to demote the Royals to AAA and promote the Santurce Crabbers from the Puerto Rican Winter League. Santurce plays at Hiram Bithorn Stadium where in 2002, before moving to DC, the Montreal Expos played 22 of their home games and averaged higher attendance there than they did at Olympic Stadium in Montreal. San Juan, way too big a city not to have any representation in the majors. Before we move on, I just have to point out that with some minor exceptions, the US is the only country where team relocation is even a thing. This is because no matter how bad your team is, they're always guaranteed a spot in the league the next year. Contrast basically every association football or soccer league in the world, where just about every city and town has a team of some kind, and whether they can climb the promotion ladder into the top league is all down to what they do on the field. Like, if we had promotion and relegation in professional baseball, this whole problem would solve itself. In other words, ruthless capitalism for the German Bundesliga, nanny state socialism for billionaire American sports franchise owners. Number 5, the LA metro area. You know, it wasn't that long ago that LA had 0 NFL teams, and now they've got too many. It is the second largest metro area in the country, but by my reckoning, not really big enough to justify 2 franchises in every one of the 5 biggest men's sports. I mean, is anyone really gonna care if I move the Clippers to Norfolk Scope Arena? Because that's what I'm doing. Hampton Roads metro area, 1.8 million people, 0 major league franchises. Salt Lake City metro area, 1.3 million people. They got an NBA franchise, an MLS franchise, and they're apparently getting the Coyotes. Make it make sense. It is interesting to me that I've got 2 Virginia metro areas around 1.5 to 2 million that are completely unserved by major sports. Seems like a business opportunity. Number 4, Twin Cities. Great sports towns, but do they really need a team in every single major men's league, each with its own venue? I'm gonna say no, plus Minnesota isn't really ice hockey country. They already lost one NHL team to Dallas, so let's send the Wild down to Houston, which is way too big a city not to have a franchise in every major sport. They can share the Toyota Center with the Rockets, and when Texas high-speed rail finally opens for revenue service, you can zip up to Dallas in 90 minutes to watch the North Stars play against the Wild. Stay mad, Minnesota. Okay, in a minute, I'm gonna get to the final 3 team relocations, and I've got an honorable and a dishonorable for you too. But first, a brief reminder of all the things you can click on if you wanna show appreciation, or connect on the apps if you wanna keep up with my travel itinerary and or receive unsolicited cat content. And both Patreon and Nebula are good ways to support directly, depending on whether you get a bigger kick out of pure altruism or just having another cool streaming app on your TV. Honorable mention, Fresno, California, home to 0 major pro franchises, comes in at number 11. Metro area projects to 1.4 million in 2034, and it's going to be the largest city served by California high-speed rail until like maybe the year 2200, the rate things are going. Dishonorable mention, Indianapolis. The whole saga of how the Baltimore Colts relocated to Indy in a fleet of Mayflower moving trucks the night of March 28th, 1984 is wild. I won't get into it, but that ship has sailed. I won't move the Pacers, who are knotted up with the Knicks 3-3 at time of taping, but I'll move the suddenly highly marketable Fever to Fresno. It's even got alliteration. I just need to book the moving trucks. Let's continue with this saga. Baltimore eventually got an NFL franchise back by ripping the Browns from Cleveland in 1995, and then the league magicked a new incarnation of the Browns into existence in 1999. I know Cleveland enjoys the misery of rooting for this team, but Cleveland is number 3 on this list, so I'm gonna take the Guardians, and to add insult to injury, I'm sending them to New York. Yeah, even though Greater New York City has multiple teams in every sport, including 3 NHL teams, it's still underserved by my reckoning, which I think is borne out by how high their teams' payrolls are. There's a long, glorious history of New York supporting 3 Major League Baseball teams when it was a much smaller metro area, and it's time to restore that glory. Coney Island Guardians kind of has a nice ring to it. Number 2, I'm just going to contrast the growth trajectories of these 2 metro areas since 2013. One of these has an NFL team and an NBA team, and the other one just recently got an MLS team, and that's it. It doesn't make a lot of sense, and New Orleans is a truly great, one-of-a-kind American city, but the numbers are the numbers. So it's time to welcome the Austin Saints to the National Football League. I figure Memorial Stadium will work, at least temporarily, and when we get the full Texas high-speed rail system up and running, we can connect all 4 of the big Texas metro areas, and on NFL Sundays, you can just railgate all the way to your rivalry game. And number 1, Denver, Colorado. Great city, but smaller than Minneapolis-St. Paul, yet it also has a team in every single one of the major men's sports. Totally unjustifiable, plus some of these sports just shouldn't even be played a mile up. In fact, I'm gonna penalize the reigning NBA champions, series with Minnesota knotted at 3-3 at time of taping, for literally wearing City Edition jerseys that say 5280 on them. So welcome your new NBA overlords, the San Bernardino County Nuggets. We'll put them in Ontario for now because the Toyota Arena is about as close as there is to a proper NBA venue in all the Inland Empire. That's right, the Empire is number 1 on one of my good lists. By far the biggest metro area not served by any top-flight pro franchise. And you could say, well, they're served by all the ones in LA and Orange County, but can you imagine having to get home to like Moreno Valley after a Dodgers night game? Just chaotic. And I'll give you the whole scatter plot now that you know all the answers. Clearly, several teams that are going to be relocating, so if I'm going to do a baseball stadium tour, this might just be the time. What I think this means is I'm going to have to travel to some new cities, and I'm not opposed to that. I have yet to travel to a city that I didn't enjoy. Although I do keep my trips compact and efficient, and that's where today's sponsor, Bellroy, comes in. Bellroy began in 2010 designing wallets that are slim and efficient and prioritize access to the items you use the most. And since then, they've expanded their offerings significantly, including bags, accessories, phone cases, all kinds of useful everyday stuff that stays true to the company's original design philosophy. If you're a regular viewer, you already know I'm a huge fan of their tech organizer, which, even if I'm only gone for a few days, I never have any idea what cord or adapter or accessory I'm gonna need, so I just bring them all. My newest Bellroy find is the light sling, which has plenty of room for everything I need when I'm out on location shooting video, and it's lightweight and breathable, which is important when you're out walking and biking in the elements, and I'm going to Phoenix in late June, so that's important. And I recommend Bellroy's products because they're comfortable and nicely designed. But maybe even more important to me is that Bellroy is a certified B Corporation. That means they meet high standards for sustainability and social good, including the fact that they've upcycled over 10 million plastic water bottles and hundreds of thousands of pounds of industrial nylon offcuts to make their goods, including the tech kit and the light sling, which are made from recycled woven fabric. So you don't see me promote many things on this channel, but Bellroy is such an easy one for me because what you get is a well-designed, high-utility item that you can feel good about. Also, if you use my custom link down in the description, you can get 10% off anything on their site. So go find something you like, or maybe better yet, something somebody you care about will like. And that's all I've got. Thanks for joining, and thanks as always to the patrons. Your direct support really does give me the freedom to jump around to radically different topics from week to week, which, given the way my brain works, is probably a huge asset to my psychological well-being. Keep the great topic suggestions coming. I actually do use them from time to time, and I may or may not be back with a new episode next week. There's just a lot going on right now, so it might be a bye week. But stay tuned, and I'll see you when I see you.